streaming live on Facebook. So feel free to ask questions and feel free to contribute, because this discussion is not only for us as we are doing it, it's for South Sudan, and this will be a very good discussion. So yeah, welcome, Nyagwa.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. My name is Nyagwa. I'm a women rights activist and a co-founder of Cadw to Freedom based in South Sudan. Just a little bit about Cadw to Freedom. We work mostly in refugees camps. The last project we did was in Kakuma and POC in Juba. We hope to go to Uganda, but with the COVID-19, things has been resettled different ways. I'm very passionate about young girls' right. Being a victim of a child marriage myself when I was in the US, I felt like it's an everyday conversation. I remember when my greatest fear growing up in South Sudan, in US with a stepmother, I was being asked to make tea. If most of the young girls can remember, if a visitor comes to the house, you're asked to make tea and you have to serve it in a special tray, special cup. The tea has to smell perfectly. This is just a small story. And you'll serve it to these 3 men usually that you know they're not going to drink the tea, but you have to serve them that tea. For me, being 14 years old, I felt like I was being auctioned out. And I can look at the guy in his eyes. All I remember, it was the most ugly socks I ever seen, because I have to put my head down like this the whole time. And, and as 14 years old, looking at this old man, 47 or 40 something years old, looking at me as his wife, I felt like if it can happen in US, then it's happening everywhere else. And when I moved back 2006, I saw most of my cousins, my sisters being forced into marriages. And I was just like, wow, okay. Some I cannot help, some I can help. But when I saw my own cousin at age 13 being sold off, and us women in the house, we couldn't say anything because we are just women in the house, I felt like this has to stop. It really has to stop. I have to do my part. And that's when me and my friend co-founded the Cadw to Freedom to help young girls that are facing earlier forced marriage. Right now we have 6 girls, 2 already graduated. One, she's already working in Kenya. She has working in a salon. She actually earned $300, more than what I earned if I was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So she's independent and can help herself. The other one, she graduated, she went back to Kakuma and she's doing sewing. If somebody comes with a rips jeans or something, she mend it for 10 shilling. That adds up monthly compared to her waiting for food in the house. So with Cadw to Freedom, I believe in equipping the young girls with skills so they can be independent. And also education. Education is my gosh, it's the crucial part of it. You educate a young girl, you delay the marriage process. So if you can be a sponsor, please sponsor the young girl. She does not have to be your relative. She does not have to be your sister. Just keep her into school. I want this to be more of a discussion, so this way we can be back and forth. So that's just a little bit about me and Cadw to Freedom. Back to you. So it can be back and forth, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you tell us a bit about Cadw for Freedom and which areas are you working in currently?
We are working currently in Kakuma, refugees camp outside Kenya. And we're also working the POC in Juba. What we did in the POC was more of after-school program and also talking to young girls, what are they facing, what are the challenges in the POC. And last year we found some can't even afford sanitary pads. And we were trying to see how we can help them, talking about sex education, which, you know, in our culture, it's a no-go zone. And we meet every 3 months just to discuss how we can help young girls better equip themselves. Yeah.
Okay, have you faced any kind of challenges while you're doing the work for the Cadw for Freedom?
Definitely. to my shocking, I actually face more from the mothers and the aunties. Because when I talk to the mothers and I ask them, you know, Character Freedom will pay your daughter to go to school. You don't have to pay anything, but she has to be out of this environment to go to school. And some mothers will even be, I went through it when I was a girl. Why should you go through it? So you see, instead of the mother protecting the daughter, it's the other way around. You find the father more supporting their daughters to go to school. But some fathers don't have a choice but to sell their daughters. There's one guy I met in Kakuma. He has 7 kids. The only daughter, her name was Achol. And the only daughter, the mother died during the birth of the 7th child. He managed to give me Achol at age 13 to go to school outside Kenya. Wow. If it was another father, and everybody was telling him, why are you letting her go? Who's gonna wash for you? Who's gonna clean for you? And he's like, she's my oldest, and I think education is important for her. She's now in Form 1, and I'm happy to say she's a happy young girl, almost finishing her school. But fathers like that, I can't thank them enough, because they see the education is very crucial for their family. With the young men, this is almost like a female fight. You know, gender equality is not a female fight. It's a human fight. So some men, especially in abroad, will say, you know, girls in US are spoiled, girls in US talk too much, so I'm gonna go to Africa and marry a young girl so she can be obedient. Mind you, this is a guy with a bachelor degree with a PhD, and they are coming back home. My challenge is actually the guys from abroad, coming back home and marrying these young girls, especially in Gambela. It's happening really, really bad and really fast. Girls are being auctioned off like there's no tomorrow. They'll marry these young girls, get them a house, leave them, get them pregnant, come every year. Those girls never get to see the light of the US until she proven to be obedient enough, submissive enough to be taken to US. You know? So this is not the village problem. This has actually become a different problem. And we need to talk to our young men about this. You know?
Yes, I've realized that the girl child education the girl child marriage has really, affected the health of the children. The girls, because I have worked in Pibor for like 6 months. Like I've been going up and forth, like I'm coming in and out, like for 2 weeks sometimes, and being training for women and children and all. And I have realized that it had affected them physically, especially in terms of in terms of getting to have sex before the specific age, which has even affected them in terms of getting sexual transmitted diseases and so many things. And some women even cannot even have kids now, even though they have become an adult now. And then they end up chased from the house because they could not stay in their husband's house, because of course the man is way older than her. And then they end up being into sex working and prostitution in Pibor. So can you tell us more about this? Like, have you witnessed such things when it comes to girl child marriage?
Definitely. I mean, early pregnancy is one of the most dangerous causes and consequences to this harmful practice. You know, girls that are married early are more likely to experience violence, abuse, and forced sexual relations. They are more vulnerable. Okay, sorry. Okay. Welcome to my meeting today with my family. Yeah. Like young girls, they're more vulnerable to sexual transmitted infection, including HIV. They're too young. At age 13, should not be a mother. I've seen a 12 years old, by age 13, she had a baby. From my own experience, she's just a child. She's not ready to be a mother. When you go to the village, let's say in the newer village where I used to work, Girls are not allowed to be married until they're 16 or 18. But now with this, before the coronavirus thing happened, COVID, young girls are being forced into marriage now more than ever. You know? So we cannot say this is the village mentality. It's not. The dowry become cash cows now, which means that more family are likely to sell off their daughters, you know, because of they need the money. You know, if you globally, 12 million girls are married off each year. Just think of it for a second. It's almost like 1 in every 2 seconds. 2 seconds, a young girl somewhere in Africa or somewhere is been married off. So this is a global issue. This is something that we need to talk about more and something we need to figure out at the end of it.
Yeah, you have said it's a global issue because yes, a lot of people have realized that. I ask people like, how old did you get married? Like, when did you get married? Because I find the lady who's, for example, 30 years old, or I mean 25 years old, and she has like as many kids that you cannot even imagine. So do you think that the government of South Sudan, or let me say the leaders in the country, are doing something on that?
Well, I mean, there's a new UN initiative campaign to eliminate child marriage by 2030. South Sudan is part of those development goals. The problem with, I don't want this to be politics, you know, everything is set in place, but the problem is the legal framework. They're not being enforced to protect these children. All the laws in South Sudan, you cannot be married until you're 18. But yet, like you mentioned, if you go to Pibor, you go to Malakal, you go to Gambela, young girls are being married at age 13. So where's the age 18? Where is it coming from? Because parents can sell off their daughters and they know they cannot face any jail time. I know for a fact that a lot of, for example, this guy got a promotion. He's like, you know what? I'm going to get myself a new wife. You know how it is in our culture. And I'm just like, okay, but you already have a new wife. You already have a wife and children in Canada. Why do you need a new wife? He went and married a 14 years old girl in Bor, 14 years old, you know, but because he's protected by the law, he's not going to go to jail for it. So people continue to do what they want to do because they have not, the people before them have not been punished. If you know, am I making any sense? You know? Yeah. Yeah. So laws are set, but there's still people breaking them. So we need to enforce these laws, no matter what. You know?
Yeah. So yes, the girl child marriage is something that is really like serious. Is a serious issue. Do you think the lack of education and the limited schools that we have in the country also contribute into that? And because I've realized that even you find somebody who's educated and somebody who has a higher rank in the country or a position or something, but it still do the same. Like still do the same. Go and get married to a 16 years old girl, 14 years old girl, and then she's like a daughter. But still they keep, you know, violating the law and still, you know, violating her rights because a girl of 14 years old, she did not even enjoy her childhood yet. She's still to discover life. So do you think also the lack of education and the limited kind of schools that we have is also has a contribution in that?
Maybe I'll say with the education from the girls' point of view, if the young girls are educated, they are more. Okay, go downstairs, there we go. Okay, young girls that are educated. Let's say, like right now, I'm working with this young girl named Abu. She's been in school for 4 years. When I first met her to when she is right now, she's more confident. She knows what she wants. She knows her body. She knows when to say no. So girls need to have access to education. So this way they can choose what they want to do with themselves instead of somebody else choosing for them. But also there's a lot of young girls, instead of taking them to school, they are home cleaning, cooking, and doing other stuff. So parents will take their boys to school first before they take the young girl to school. And with Catwalk to Freedom, we come in saying that, okay, since you cannot afford to take her to school, we will keep her in school for you. Some parents will say yes, but some parents will say no, because if I take her out of the household, they no longer have someone to clean and cook for them, you know. And most guys will not marry highly educated young women because she will not be submissive, you know.
Yeah.
So they rather marry a young girl with less education. So this way, she cannot speak back, you know. So education is very crucial for the young ladies. I've seen men with PhD, with all the education, and they still do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. So on their part, I don't know education can help them. But with the young girls, education is very crucial.
Yes, yes, yes. I can see Michelle had asked a question. She said, it is, if this hasn't been addressed, as I was late, what role does dowry play in child or forced marriage? And how can this be addressed? How have some communities addressed this? So again, I will ask the question, I'll repeat the question. What role does dowry play in child or forced marriage? And how can this be addressed? This is the first question. Then she has her second question is, how have some communities addressed this?
Okay. I mean, many poor families marry off their daughters in order to receive dowry. Dowry is a payment in the form of money, gift, or cattle, you know, from the future husband. Due to instability, cattle raiding, as you know, in our country, has become more common in South Sudan. And now, and so some family are unable to feed their family, their children. So they have to sell off the daughter to feed their family. Another one is cows being used as a currency in child marriage transaction, and teenage girls are forced into marriage. So cattle, the dowry play a huge part when it comes to selling off your daughter. It's almost like some young girls are just born so other people can eat in their family. We don't want to put it in a different way, you know? And some family will say, we are marrying them off so we can protect them. So, so we can protect them from early, you know, to early pregnancy, so they can be more obedient. But you're not really protecting your young girls, you're just marrying them off. And armed conflicts. Right now in South Sudan, the stability is everywhere. So a lot of young girls are forced into marriage and prostitution, like you mentioned, in Pibor. Another one is family honor. Two family, let's say William Nyon or Carbina, I don't know, just two family that are well known, they can marry together to keep the family political, how do you say it? So there's a lot of, I'm losing my point, but dowry is used a lot as a form of, for the marriage and to sell off the daughter. So the family can receive some form of payment. And now with all this cattle raiding happening, it's become cash cows. Like for example, in Gambela, there's no dowry anymore. One cow can worth $600. So if you married a young girl with 100 cows, so I mean, that's a lot of money, you know? So yeah, young girls are being forced to marry so the family can live off them. So
yeah, I also I have a friend of mine who had been, like, she had been asked to get married to a person that she doesn't love, and she was young actually, and they said, oh, we have, they are going to pay us, you know, a lot of dowry because the father is on debt, and then she has to run away and come to Khartoum, and she managed to make her life, and she's a graduate now, and she's an amazing young girl. So I just, so people were able to make out of that kind of practices, and some people could not make it out, which I really feel bad about it. So she also asked a question, she said, how have some communities addressed this?
Well, with the community that I work with in Kakuma last year, I was trying to understand, you know, coming from US, growing up in Nairobi is like, why is this happening? You know, I'm looking down into them. So I had to really go down and ask from the grassroots level. Some families are really, really suffering. And if you have 6 girls, for the father thinks that if he sells off one daughter, then the other one will survive. It's a survival tactics. There's no way around it, you know? And also just lack of education. If you educate the community leaders, especially the church leaders, they're very crucial, and the community members, educate them the consequences of forcing your girl to be married early, you know? I mean, at 13 years old should not be having a baby. There's a lot of stuff that goes through her body that she shouldn't go through it at age 13. But once they understand that, it was like a switch in their head saying that, oh, I did not know that she can suffer all this stuff. But it was lack of education from a community level. They need to understand the consequences of forcing their daughters into marriage. It's not a cultural thing anymore. It's actually, if you force your child to be married at age 13, this is what's going to happen. And once they understand that, a lot of fathers start agreeing taking their daughters back to school. But if we don't go to the grassroots level and teach them why this is crucial, then we can't expect child marriage to end in South Sudan, you know. And it is not a village problem, as you can see. It's a global thing, you know. Yes, it's worse in South Sudan, but it's also, it's happening in Kenya, it's happening, even in US, they have the same issue.
Yes, I just want to say, to tell a story, a short story. When I went to Pibor, I felt really good because, I'm from Bor, and I really loved Pibor. Pibor is a nice place with nice people there. I really enjoyed their food. I really enjoyed talking to many women, and I've seen women are taking like control over the market and the businesses. I've seen so many women like very strong. And school, there's lack of school. There's one school or two, but still, I was able to get into the people. I mean, the people understand their culture and respect their culture. And I have realized when we started training women on their rights, women rights, the first thing they say that, oh, first of all, you don't look young and you're not married yet. Secondly, the community mobilizer, she was divorced. So they said, oh, this one, she is divorced. And she is from that village. She is divorced. Who is she to come and tell us all these things? So we found challenges at the beginning, but after we talked to them and we talked to the women leaders, she said she were able to pursue them and talk to them about, you know, what we are coming to do and all these things. And most of the women that were there, they said that yes, you know, they said yes, we will let our children to go back to school. We want our children to have good life. We want our children to have good husbands in the future. We don't want our children to get married very young. And I've seen that understanding their point, where they're coming from, and their level of understanding at that moment, it is different. So I think we need to go to the grassroots and, you know, and try and help people at the grassroots, because as you said, it's not only the village issue, it is a global issue, it is a city issue, and it is so many, like it's happening everywhere. Every house has the same issue. Every girl has to go through that. Even if she doesn't get married at the age of 14 or 15, she's still, like, they say, okay, your age 25 is the limit, please get married. We need the dowry and all this. So Jacqueline Hakim, she said she wants to contribute. Jacqueline, are you here?
Yes. Good afternoon once again. Thank you so much, Nyangora. Sorry, I'm still struggling with pronouncing South Sudanese names. My name is Jacqueline Hakim, and I am a human rights lawyer by profession. I am also South Sudanese. And my passion is really for women and children's rights. And I'm really passionate about women and children's rights, as I said. And I wanted to do my PhD, and I wanted to focus on adolescent rights in South Sudan, and mainly because of the prevalence of child marriage in South Sudan. I've been doing a lot of courses on child protection, and I know that one thing is the community is a protective and promotive factors, right? Environment. And now we talk about also social norms. Okay, South Sudan is already a party to the CRC, which is the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Yes, they're like legal instruments, human rights instruments that protect child marriages. But now we have the social norms in South Sudan, and we have so many cultures that encourage and promote child marriage. So you being an activist in this area, do you know of any step that is being taken towards changing the social norm in South Sudan with regard to child marriage? Thank you.
Well, are you there?
Yes, did you get her question?
Yeah, I heard the question, yeah. I mean, last year we did a major milestone in the campaign to end child marriage. And South Sudan is part of it. South Sudan has committed to eliminate early, forced, and child marriage by 2030 in the line of Sustainable Development Goal. I'm not, because I don't work right in the village, I work in the refugees camps. So I'll answer what I know, because of lack of government leadership to implement the action plan. I don't know if we're going to reach 2030 to eliminate child marriage in South Sudan. There's a lot of cultures come into it. Like if I go to Bor and if I go to Pangak, it's completely different. So with this action plan, which was supposed to eliminate child marriage by 2030, it needs to go to the grassroots level, whether we like it or not. There's no way we're going to end child marriage in Juba. We have to start from the grassroots level. And like she said, there's a lot of cultural. No, we cannot go right. Okay. There's a lot of cultural stuff that we need to deal with right now. Yeah. I'm so sorry, my daughter today is just But go ahead and ask somebody else another question.
Yeah, I will allow Mr. Goldit Matiang to come in. Goldit, are you around?
Hi guys.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. You can just give a brief introduction about yourself and then a brief whatever you want to say. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for communicating via LinkedIn. That's really good from you. So you can come in and
Thank you. My name is Goldit Wau. I am from Australia, from South Sudan, but currently living in Australia. And I'm a student doing economics. I run a non-profit organization called MSA, and our mission is basically to provide medical supplies to hospitals in South Sudan. We have an orphanage in Uganda, as well as South Sudan, Juba to be specific. So I've been back and forth working South Sudan and here. When I saw that you were going to host a Zoom about underage marriage, which is something I'm passionate about. Currently working on an article based on underage marriage. Now, it's a broad conversation, and Nyagwa, I believe that's how you say the name, has mentioned the fact that it's a global issue, right? So the reason I have an interest in is not so much that I can contribute in, ending the issue in South Sudan, but the fact that it's happening here in Australia, where I am from, the fact that it happens in the USA, in England, Canada, bothers me, which is the reason I decided to, take a step forward and do something about it. Before I go further, I'd just like to fill you guys in on a story of what recently happened in Rumbek. There was a young girl that was taken from Melbourne in Australia. They tricked her that it was a vacation to South Sudan. So she went with the parents, and as soon as she got to South Sudan, they took her passport and said, "Oh, guess what? You're getting married to a complete stranger." She doesn't know. She's 17 years of age. The moment she said no, she was then tortured and beaten. And I have a friend in Rumbek, so he called me and said, "There's a young girl that came from Australia." Now, we decided to take the matter into our own hands. We went to the law in South Sudan and told them what's happening, because we know in the constitution it does say the legal age is 18. The response was, "Oh, we can't intervene. This is marriage. We can't do anything about it. People get killed." Which doesn't make any sense, because if you make the law, you implement the law, how can you be afraid to enforce the law? You know, like, it doesn't make any sense. We involved the Australian government. We went to the UN people and we threatened the parents, if they were to go ahead with it, they'd have to make sure that they will never come back to Australia again. That's the consequences they'll face. So the whole marriage was put to an end. Now, coming to understanding the reasons why it happened in South Sudan, you know, we've mentioned them before. Some of the reasons: lack of education, poverty. These reasons have been excused for many years. You know, okay, yeah, it's understandable. Family needs something to feed their family. But when you come to the Western world, what is the actual reason? Why would you want to send your daughter? Why would you want to force your daughter to South Sudan to get married? It's not poverty, because you're in the Western world. You're not going through any poverty. It's not lack of education, because she's actually going to school. You took her out of primary school. The only reason I can think of is ego, pride, right? You're taking her so you can talk about the fact that, oh, I married off my daughter following the culture, which brings the question: culture isn't made for our women in South Sudan. It's only made for men. That's a fact. Culture only benefits men in South Sudan. So women suffer, you know, they suffer for culture, right? So it's something that, like you said, you know, it might not end in 2030, but the step that we take to not only educate, we can't change the older generation, we cannot change them. So it's a matter of the younger generation understanding, having this sort of conversation to understand what is happening, what is needed to happen. And human rights, obviously we have human rights, but are human rights actually women's rights? Because it seems, again, women are not included when it comes to human rights. When we talk about human rights, right? They don't have a voice to talk. As soon as you speak as a woman, nobody wants to listen to you, which is the reason why a lot of men leave the Western world to go and get married back home, because they want to marry someone who will not talk back. Yagua said it before, right? They want to marry someone they can control. So you marry a baby, basically, 13, 15, you know, as a baby. So you marry them so you can exploit them for your own benefit. So to me, it's more of, in the Western world, something has to be done. In South Sudan, things will gradually happen. But when you go to Western world and bring you have to face the consequences, tough consequences, basically, yeah. But again, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Now just listen and observe and, learn. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Goldit. This is a really a good contribution, an amazing one. It brought me to the point that maybe I can ask Nyagwa and also Goldit. Maybe the two of you can respond. How can the South Sudanese in diaspora also contribute into ending the child marriage? This is the question maybe I can also.
Ending child marriage if it's only seen as an issue of poverty, culture issue, or practice tied to one specific religion or context, child marriage are more complex than that. We need to understand that. Just like you say, in Australia, US, I was at age 13 was forced to marriage. In US, my family did not need the money. But because my stepmom thought, because I speak back, I need to be married off so this way I don't get pregnant. You know, her excuses, that was her excuses. But what I like about this young man saying, I'm really happy to see him on talking with us today. With the child marriage, personally, we need to involve the young men. The last generation has gone. There's nothing we can do about that, but we can change the next generation. Mm-hmm. Like when I was in US last year, I talked to a lot of young men, and most of them, they were saying, you know, I saw my cousin was sold off. Oh, I saw my sister. I'm like, but what did you do about it? Mm-hmm. I can do anything. I'm like, but you can do something as a young man. You can say, I don't want my sister to be married off. I don't want my cousin to be married off. So this child marriage issue in South Sudan, it's also the men issue. The next generation needs to step in. They need to acknowledge this as an issue. But I'm taking this child marriage very serious because I went through it. And I shouldn't be the only one fighting. We all need to collectively fight this issue. You know, if it's not happening to you today, tomorrow it will be your cousin. You know, it could be my cousin today, but tomorrow it will be your cousin. And it's happening more in US now and in Australia. And there's laws to stop this from happening. But our brothers, our uncles, they need to step in and say, you know what? I don't want my sister to be married off. Because if I don't get married, my brother doesn't get married because he needs the dowry to get married. But if my brothers say, I don't need the dowry, I don't want to get married right now, I want to finish school, then it's a support on my back. Oh, you know what? My brother got my back, so I don't have to be married off. So you brothers out there that are listening, you have a crucial part to stop this by stepping in and talking on my behalf, on our rights behalf, saying that, you know what, if you cannot hear my sister right, then I'm speaking for her right. So young men needs to step up, you know. I mean, in South Sudan alone, like I say, there's a lot of strong legal framework are existing and they're fully enforced. You know, like perpetrators will continue to do what they do because they don't pay the consequences, you know. We'll see ministers marrying young girls, you know, ambassadors, you name it, you know, young boys from US. But as long one of them doesn't go to jail, they'll continue to do it because they created the law, they will break the law and they'll continue doing what they want to do. But, you know, I'm hopeful that the next generation can really make a change. Especially, I mean, do you want to marry a young girl which is 14 years old that she cannot help you in the house? I mean, God forbid, if you die in a car accident, who's going to take care of your children? You didn't educate her. You didn't teach her how to drive a car. She's just there giving birth to your children. Think about it. If you die, what's going to happen to your children? You know, if you do marry a young girl, I cannot stop it from happening. Educate her so she can be your partner. So she's not just there as your producing your children, you know. I've seen that in US. I mean, I have an auntie now, she's 42. She got a divorce. In her mind, she's free, but she's been traumatized. From age 13, she was married off, was sent to US. And now she's free to do what? You know? The husband now becomes alcoholic, you know. I mean, she's left with 8 kids to take care of in the US. You know? So you guys out there in US, abroad, I'm really rooting for you guys. You can step in and make the change. Instead of marrying off a 12-year-old girl, educate her. This is not normal. We cannot be marrying off small children. And then the excuse I heard lately, it's a culture. No, it's not the culture. You know, you can change it. Yeah. So, sorry, let me give other people a chance to speak.
Yeah, Goldie, do you want to contribute something?
Yeah.
Sure. Don't be sorry, you're passionate. I think honestly, I have 6 sisters, right? And they've gone through this whole arranged, forced, underage marriage, and none of them is married. One of my sisters they made an arrangement to be married off to someone, and I remember having a conversation with my father, and the conversation was more of, he was focused on having a talk to my mom to see if it was okay for this to happen, not whether my sister would allow it, right? So I said, okay, you know, that's fine, but have you spoken with your daughter? Now, nothing happened because I decided to intervene. You know, I accepted the consequences of, um, speaking out and back and forth with my parents. Whether it was going to be a huge deal or not, I accepted that because I was not going to have my sister go off, and marry. If she says yes, this was not an underage marriage, but more so an arranged marriage. Had she said yes, that's fine. She can go ahead with it. But to be forced was not going to happen, which is what it means when men actually do step in and make sure this doesn't happen. We have a huge power as men. We can't let this fight be a women's fight because it will never go anywhere. We need to understand, we need to educate ourselves, and accept the consequences and be accountable for everything we do. Because I can decide, when you say ministers, do this stuff, you can literally become a minister and, with knowing the law, and you have, sometimes they do the whole loan, they go, like a family would just give you a 13-year-old for now, pay later, that's okay. And as a minister, you accept this, you feel your ego, instead of saying, oh, I'm too old, I'm 60, you have a person whose sons are married, but is also marrying a 16-year-old as well to compete with his, so it's something that, again, bothers me a lot. But you ask the question, what can people in diaspora do? We have law in Australia. One of those laws is the reason why that man in Quebec right now is not going to marry off his daughter. That law is that if you disobey, you go to jail straight away, which is something that I've decided to do. Working on this article right now is to expose what is happening in our culture. I have cousins. I have cousins that have gone through this. I have interviewed them, and it's a sad story what they've gone through. Sad enough that I'm accepting whether my community is going to, hate me or not, for speaking out and saying enough is enough, because you're not going to, destroy someone's life to fill your own ego. So what we do, take someone to jail. Not even a joke, take someone to jail. Yeah, that's what we do. Thank you.
Okay, that's really, that's amazing. Like, the girl child marriage is something that is really heartbreaking. I remember my sister telling me she went to visit one of her friends' relative house, and then when she went to the house, she was given an album, a picture, a photo album, to look at the photos, and then she found my photo there among the pictures of the girls. And she was like, what is my sister photo doing there? Then the lady said, oh, we had an uncle who was 55 years old. And by then, I think I was 15 years old. And they said that they wanted to marry me to him. And I was like, what? I was even angry because it was not when I was 15. It was when I was 20 something. And I was like, what? I almost cried. I just imagined myself, I imagined myself how it was going to be. And I asked, where is that guy? They told me that the guy is now dead. I said, even dead. So I was going to be a widow. So because this is the kind of thing that they thought that they were giving me a favor, because definitely my father died when I was 1 year and a half or 2 years. I didn't see him, and my mom raised us because she raised us as a single mother. And she managed to put us in a school. And then my mom was around when my sister was telling her the story. And then I was like, Mom, would you have allowed that? And then my mom was like, no, hell no, I will not allow that, because I'm educating you guys. I made sure that you guys get the full education that you need, the food you need, the things you need. And she is a strong woman from Upper Nile. She is a very strong woman that had brought me up to here. and I don't take it for granted. As a single mother, I salute all the single mothers outside there for not giving their children out for marriage at a young age, even though if they need something. And also the issue of dowry is something that we should also talk about it separately one day, because I've realized dowry has affected a lot of girls who are not getting married. Culture to culture, dowry from the culture to culture or tribe to tribe. I mean, tribe to tribe is different, because for example, if I'm from Dinka, I want to get married to a guy who's from Equatoria or different tribe. He might be asked a lot of cows. For example, 400 is something that is too much currently, like 400, 500, something that is unrealistic. And then do you expect your girls to get married at that thing? I mean, love marriage? Definitely. It will be like, I don't know, it will be like different. That's something that we need to really talk about. So I would like to, I just want you to speak briefly, Nyagwa, about Anataban. Anataban is a really great initiative. I've been following it, and I've been also part of it at some point. So can you talk about it a bit and what they can do about it, about this child marriage issue, and what the activities they have been doing? I want Anataban to be known all over. So, okay. Yeah.
But with the Anataban, how do I say that? We use art. We use art to tell stories. And what I love about Anataban is there's more young girls now that are involved. And if it wasn't for this COVID-19, we hope to go into other areas and bring in the youth in. I remember a few years ago when I wanted to quit working with Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a diplomat to do fashion. And I kid you not, I had people mocking me from left to right, saying that, what? You're gonna leave your office job to go do this. You know, in South Sudan, they want us to have this office job. Not all of us can work in a government office. We need to start harnessing other skills. We need to appreciate art. We need to appreciate people that are doing different things beside government sector. And you'll be surprised how much talent we have in that country. So much talent that we need to really dig deeper into it. And they use peace messages. I mean, it's a non-violent organization. I love what they're doing right now. I've been busy being a mom and with Cadwork to Freedom, but I still follow them. I'm still part of the team. And I love what they're doing with the murals on the walls, you know, the peace messages. When the peace process was being done, Anataban was busy doing that. With the COVID-19, they're busy painting everywhere to wear your mask. I mean, anything that is happening, Anataban is usually ahead or they're promoting peace by youth. And I hope in the few years that government can see how crucial art and other invest in youth. That's all I can say. We really need to invest in our youth. With the population right now, with the majority, but we don't have a lot of voice in the country, we need to figure out other ways how we can give out our message without, you know, non-violent way. And I think Anataban it's a way to go forward, you know. If we want to speak about our Me Too thing, go online, you know. Like one of, I was speaking to one of the uncles and he's saying, you know what, Nyago, your generation are so lucky. Our generation, we had to use gun to say our message. Your generation, you have a pen, you have internet. You can change South Sudan into the way you want it if you only be productive and be collectively work together to change South Sudan. And my message to the youth is to work together peacefully, and we should not see no race. I'm not Dinka, I'm not Nuer, I'm Dinka, I'm not what, I am a South Sudanese. And I want South Sudan to be better for my children and children. Because what our father have left for us, it's our job to continue to go forward. But we can't just say, oh, uncles are here. You know what, with the food they eat nowadays and exercising and the new young wife, they're not going anywhere. Sad to say. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. So we have to be collectively working hard to fight them, but in a non-violent way, and give them our message how we want the next South Sudan to be. And for me, I love art. Anything to do with art, I'm in it. And salute to the Anataban, what they're doing now. And I hope they get more funding to continue to do more and more and more, and to reach even more youth that are in Pangag, you know, like areas that they have never reached there. You know? And so.
Yeah, so I'm glad really, because South Sudan is doing a lot of things to end this child marriage issue, and also the current issue of sexual gender-based violence, especially the child rape. Like a lot of children, like specifically the age of 8 years old, like last week or last 2 weeks, a child was raped, and she is 8 years old. And I would like to salute my sisters, Ayak, Miss Ayak, and Mrs. Ayak, and Miss Ria, and Paleki, and Alwell, and Achu. I want to bring a lot of names, and Michelle. She's right here with us. She is not South Sudanese, but she is amazing. She is a committed lady to bring a change in South Sudan. And a lot of South Sudanese activists, even men, Manassa, Metiang, and so many South Sudanese out there, and they have never slept. They kept on, they kept on bringing, trying to bring peace, trying to stop these issues, and trying to bring a lot of issues on open, and then to try and bring the solution for it. So I would like to read what Mr. Akok Matut is Dr. Akok Matut. He wrote something to you, Nyagwa, a point, and to everybody. He said, my take, Nyagwa, I would like to upload your mission, not work, in ending child marriage. I think ending child marriage requires a movement to undertake this noble mission. Such movement can exert a sustained pressure and influence to enforce laws and carry out public education on evilness of child marriages. Insecurity is causing and waste of resources in paying huge marriage dowries. The latter is already discouraging young men not to get married, particularly those in towns who are not engaged in cattle looting to pay dowries. More importantly, is discouraging intermarriage among communities, particularly farmers' communities. We need intermarriage to enhance our national unity. Stopping or reducing dowry to symbolic gesture will significantly reduce communal violence in nomadic areas and will encourage young women and men to get married. Women/girls are not properties, but human beings. They are our mothers, sisters, daughters, aunties, etc. Girls in particular must finish high school before marriage and out of their concerns, not forced into it. So thank you, Dr. Akok, for this point. Dr. Akok is a diplomat at the mission, South Sudan mission, and the embassy in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So thank you so much for your input. He had been really supportive in terms of this issue. And we really want to see many men, supporting this issue of, this ending of child marriage. And I really appreciate you, Mr. Akok. And I would like, we are almost coming to an end. I would like to give a chance for any remark from the participant. If there is anybody who wants to say anything, you're free to come in. Maybe I should just, Michelle, I just want to bring you in if you don't mind. Oh, I don't know if Michelle is here. Okay, Katja, or anybody who wants to contribute anything, I'll be glad to bring you guys in. Okay, so Mrs. Nyagwa, you can go ahead giving your closing remarks so that we can close. And yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for opening this conversation. We need to continue this, and we need to talk more about this. And to Godik, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. I'm happy that you're the first domino. What I mean by domino is you started it, and there'll be more young men will follow your step. So please continue to fight the fight you're doing in Australia. And it makes it easier for us to do what we do back in South Sudan. And if there's any mothers out there, I encourage them to, you know, educate their daughters, not to just think as being a mother, but to be a doctor, to be a pilot, to be a mechanic. There's other roles that we can do as women, as young girls, not just as being wives and mothers in South Sudan. And yeah, I mean, to all my sisters out there that are fighting the same fight we are fighting, you know yourself. I thank you for what you do. Don't give up. One day we shall win the fight, you know. And to the rest, as Frida Kahlo once said, gender equality is not a female fight, but a human fight. This is a human fight, and we have to fight it together.
Yeah.
And stop marrying your daughters early. Let them in school.
Yeah, very true. Thank you so much, Mr. Diago. I would like to let Mr. James Lopusa, then Mr. Goldit can come at the end. Mr. James.
Oh, that's fine. I was just gonna say James wants to say something. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mr. James.
Good afternoon, great women and men.
Good afternoon.
My name is James. I'm a young lawyer currently in Kenya, and I'm also a co-founder of Cultural Diversity. Our mission is to showcase our 64 tribes in South Sudan, and just to mention a few points. You know what Nyagwa said regarding the topic. Forced marriage, child marriage is really so complex. But what I always advocate for is cultural biasness. If we looked at our 64 cultures in South Sudan, our cultures are really biased on women in relation to child marriage, forced marriage, gender inequalities, and all that. So I always advocate for eradication of cultural biasness. I think this is a high time we need to look into our cultures that promote forced marriages, child marriages, and all that. If we do such, I think this is gonna be the only way we can end forced marriages in South Sudan by the year 2030. Otherwise, it's a very complex issue, and we should not leave it only on our women. You understand?
Mm.
Yeah, it's a very complex issue. But however, having listened to Nyagwa with her organization, the card work, my question is, with the current rate of child marriage in South Sudan, I'm not even sure about what is happening right now with this pandemic, the whole pandemic. But with this current rate, what is your organization doing to address this child marriage at international level? This question goes to Nyagwa, and also to my brother Goldit. I'm really surprised that child marriage, forced marriage, is happening in Western world. It's really a shock to me. That's why if you hear my point on eradication of cultural biasness, our cultures our 64 cultures in South Sudan, you know, there's a way, you know, some of our cultures are just biased, you know, on our women. It's really painful, you know, seeing a very young girl at the age of 16 or even 13 being forced, you know, to a marriage just for survival. You understand? So this is a very big issue that we all need to stand. We all need to stand as men, as women, as a whole nation to address it sooner than later. You get? Because it might not be my sister, it might not be someone else's sister, but some days it's gonna be even my daughter. You see? So this is something we need to stand in solidarity with our women, and then we make sure these issues are addressed at international level. Yes. Otherwise, I'm very grateful to be on board. I've always listened to Miss Adeng. Your topics are always very educative, and you know, this is high time. Actually, we need to engage so much. We students, and you know, South Sudanese who are in diaspora, there are some of these complex cases that need attention and need to be discussed. And I'm always thankful to be on board, and I look forward to any of your online discussion. Thank you so much, Ms. Nyagwa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lupusa. Thank you so much for your intervention. I've always been seeing you attending the discussion, and you are really helping us by attending it, and also for the point that you have given about the cultural bias. So I would like to give Mrs. Nyagwa and Mr. Goldit the opportunity to respond to what he asked, and then we can give you the remark. Maybe Mrs. Nyagwa can go first, and then Mr. Goldit can go last, and then you give your closing remark.
Sorry, Nago. I feel like it would be best, because you're the panelist. I feel like it would be best that you leave your point last.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just here joining the conversation. Honestly, again, I'm grateful. This is the first time I've actually been involved in something on LinkedIn. I'm new at this, and I think everything has been said. We all understand what the issue is. To Brother James, trust me, there's a lot that happens in South Sudan you will not believe is actually happening in the Western world. You know, so sometimes you ask yourself, what is the reason we educate ourselves? Because those that are educated don't even they don't make decisions any better compared to those that we have in the village. They have the same mindset. Nothing changes. You know, so arranged marriage, underage marriage is definitely not going to change, because again, the reason that we do it, it's not even about poverty anymore. Like I said before, it's not about lack of education. It's a man fulfilling, his ego. Or you have a brother that wants to marry, doesn't have any dowries, or your father wants to remarry again, can't afford it, so you sell off your daughter. These are the reasons. Unacceptable, of course. So change has to start somewhere. There are always consequences in when someone wants to make a change. You go, you meet people that are threatened by every move that you make. They don't want to see change. It makes people uncomfortable, but it has to happen. And I'm grateful that this year has surprised me a lot. A lot of young women have been too powerful to handle. I've heard social media is controlled by women right now, young women. Men can't handle it. They can't handle the truth. They can't handle it. So that's the only way we can make a difference. When women actually understand their worth and say enough is enough. We have to do something. But yeah. So underage marriage, we might not, stop everything right now. But we start the conversation, the next generation will do something about it. And then, you know, as we go on and on and on, it will die off. It's not culture. Because if it is culture, I don't understand what culture is anymore. Like, I feel like culture is supposed to be celebrated, you know. It's not supposed to be something that is used to control other people, right? If that is the case, then I don't want the culture. You know, we can change it. So again, thank you all. You've all been wonderful, everyone that has participated. If it happens on the weekend, I will definitely be part of it, you know, because of time difference. Right now it's like 1 p.m. in Kenya.
Yeah.
Good time for me. Good time. It's like 8 p.m. here. So that's fine. Whenever it's happening on the weekend, I'm definitely part of whatever it is that we're doing. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Nyago, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Godid. I know we're running out of time. To answer the other guy question is, we are a small organization, and I can go further if South Sudanese, especially people in diaspora, contribute, donate so I can do more. Because I cannot reach more young girls out there if I don't have the resources to do that. The organization we're trying to do is from a grassroots level. A lot of NGOs, they're doing amazing work in South Sudan. And just to leave you on a note, 52% of girls in South Sudan are married before the age of 18. 52%, you know. And child marriage is really driven by gender inequality, you know, like boys are seen to be better than girls. I'll always go back to my point. We need to see young boy and young girl to be equal, and they should be given the same opportunity that you'll give your boy, you should give it to your young girl too. And as always, support your local NGOs. If you cannot be there physically, donate. If you cannot be there, like the page. I mean, they say charity starts from home. That's you. So, but thank you again. I know we're out of time. Thank you. The conversation must continue. It's a long fight. We have until 2030. Before you know, it'll be 2029, and we are still talking about the same issue. In order for us to make a change, we have to be part of that change. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I can see a lot of questions coming, but we are running out of time. If it was for me, we would have just stayed up to, I don't know, 3 hours, 4 hours.
I mean, you can go to the web. You can go to my website. You can go to catwalktofreedom.org. You can go to our Facebook page. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And if you know any cases that are happening in Kenya or somewhere where I can help, let me know. But just go to the website. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And thank you.
Yeah, sure. And maybe you can share with me, and then I will send it to the participant via the email and the website and all. But last, I would like to say thank you so much, everyone, for participation. Thank you, Nyagwa, for being a great panelist. I really enjoyed the topic, and hopefully the coronavirus will finish, and then I'll come visit and we talk more. And Goldie, thank you so much for your contribution, and thank you so much for coming into LinkedIn and communicating with me for you to come and share your experience. And it was really great. But I would like to say that we have to end child marriage. It's everybody's responsibility to end child marriage. And for the parents, please do your best. As for us who are not yet married or aiming to get married, let's work hard so that we have all the financial support for the kids and all the, you know, if we can also support other people who are not even going to be, who are not our kids or even not our relatives, to put them in school. And if you can have, like, every year have one child or to support, to put them in school, it will really help you. It will really make you happy. Even give them a book or a pen. This is a gift that they will really help. It will really help them. Or talk to the parents about about education. Talk to other parents about education. Talk to your neighbors about education. Also, it will help as well, so that they will not marry their children out at a young age. So please contribute and help other people also. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending this discussion. And on live, on Facebook Live also, thank you so much for your contribution. Members. So I would like to also say good day, goodbye, and enjoy your day, and have a nice day ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Miss Adeng.
Yes, please.
Can I suggest that we have like a 2 hours conversation